6:30, my public library meeting will come to order. We do have a number of guests here with us. I do thank you all for coming and expressing your concern about the City of Atlanta and the Atlanta Public Library. We will be taking questions, comments from those in attendance that have turned in cards. You each will be allowed to speak for 4 minutes. We will shut it off after 20 minutes, regardless of who did not get to speak. And myself nor anyone on the board will be responding tonight to any of your comments or questions. So first one on cards is Vicki Eckert.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. Was the building being talked about to purchase from the library inspected by a licensed inspector and appraised by a licensed appraiser? Second question, if there was talk about putting the firewalls in where the doors were replaced, are they going to be paid by the taxpayers, which we don't feel they should, since we already paid for them once? But if they do, should be firewalls. That's all I have.
Second one is Larry Brandt.
We believe that in the interest of the Atlanta Public Library and Museum taxpayers, for the Board of Trustees of the Atlanta Library and Museum to rescind the vote taken on June 8, 2017 by the Board of Trustees to purchase the building located at 120 Southwest Arch Street. In a few days after learning about the proposed purchase of the Union Hall building, we have gotten 183 signatures of registered voters in the library district against said purchase. We are your constituents and we elected each of you, and we expect you to follow the law and represent our wishes.
Okay. Third one we have here is Mary Hill.
I represent a group of people. I have some questions, which I will be glad to give to someone to address in the future by mail if that's what needs to be done. First question, why isn't it a conflict of interest for the board to rent, lease, or buy a building from a board member? Number two, why are we leasing a building from a board member for $1,000 a month? Why not rent it per event? And only when there's no other less expensive alternative? How many times per month is it used? For example, how many times will it be used in August? When others use the leased space, do they pay the library for its use? For example, the current exercise class, and how much do they pay? There's a $35,500 grant, which I've seen the invoices, but the totals don't equal $35,500. And I'm wondering why the invoices weren't paid by a library check, rather they were by money orders with no copies saved. And what happened to the rest of the grant money that wasn't accounted for on the invoices? And is it legal to use the grant money for projects in or on the Union Hall building, since it is not owned by the library district? For example, putting doors from a public to a private building.
Okay, next we have George Minkin.
What I understand is that you guys agreed to buy the building for $200,000. So I went to the assessor's office to find out what the value is. So they give you a 1/3. The 1/3 value of this building is $14,730 as of today. It was reassessed in March of this year. So it's less than $45,000 in value, and you intend to spend $200,000 and raise taxes. That's the first one. Second one, I suggest you get an attorney and look up what the laws are regarding somebody that's an elected official purchasing or being involved in the purchase of their private property by the entity that they're an elected board member or an elected official for. You can go to jail. So my question is, why would you spend $200,000 for less than $45,000 bill? Tends to look a wee bit questionable.
Telling me to complain about
And if you want the, for those of you that want to write this down, if you want to look it up on the internet, the parcel number is 05-343-009-000. And you might be interested to go down to the sales and see the sales history on it too. Because the sales show it having just been sold back to Telelogic on the 17th of July this year.
Okay, next one we have is John Kraft. Kraft.
Good evening. John Kraft. I went to the Secretary of State's website, grabbed this Illinois Library Association, Illinois State Library Trustee fact sheet. The whole book on it, several books. Conflict of interest on page 20. An example of one would be the board purchases a lot for library construction from a real estate company with which the trustee is associated. So the trustee is associated with the real estate company and the library purchases a vacant lot, and they call that a conflict of interest. You would think owning a building that the library is going to purchase would also be a conflict of interest. I don't know who William Thomas is he here?
He is not here.
Good. Did he submit his resignation yet? He needs to before he gets handcuffed. I filed some complaints with the state's attorney, the sheriff's department, the chief of police, and I'll file them somewhere else if I need to. The conflict of interest is he's elected trustee and the treasurer. He owns the real estate. The first conflict was leasing the building to himself. Whether he was in the meeting and voted or not, it doesn't matter. It's a conflict. He can't lease the building to himself. The library can't pay him $1,000 a month to lease the property. Then find out that you were paying somebody else initially to lease the building, and then the guy didn't fall through with the purchase. So I'm wondering if that money also went to Mr. Thomas by way of prepayment on whatever he was going to pay for the building. That would also constitute an indirect conflict of interest if that happened. He signed the lease, the Union Hall lease. William Thomas signed it, so you can no longer walk away from, he wasn't in the room, even though that didn't matter. The Public Officer Prohibited Activities Act specifically prohibits what happened. The lease payments, the sale, vote, and discussion. It says, it's clear as day. Prohibited interest in contracts. No person holding any office by election or appointment can be in any manner financially interested directly in his own name or indirectly in the name of any other person. Now later on in this act, it lists what are permissible, and there are A through E, and he has to meet all of those, not just one of them. And the first one that fails is less than 7.5% share in ownership. He owns 100% of himself, and that lease went to him. He failed that, none of the rest of it matters. There's more in here that he failed. It wasn't awarded by sealed bid. Several other items. Now, I'm also want you guys to know that I believe you violated the Open Meetings Act on 3 separate occasions. January 13 and 14, when you went out of town and held a retreat. You can't go out of town and hold a retreat. It's inconvenient for the public to attend. You expect them to drive to Springfield to go to your public meeting? That is a public meeting. And in June, purchasing that building or any vote to proceed with the purchase was not on the agenda. but according to your minutes, you decided to go ahead with the purchase. That is all I have, and I would appreciate it if the rest of you trustees, and I understand either he got an attorney or the board got an attorney to write the police chief a letter saying, oh, it's no conflict if he walks out of the room and doesn't vote. Well, that attorney is wrong. And if he's standing in here, I'll tell him to his face. I don't know who he is and I don't know his name yet, but I'll get it. That attorney is wrong, and he couldn't be any wronger with that letter.
Okay, next one we have is Kirk Allen.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Kirk Allen. I represent the Edgar County Watchdog for a nonprofit local government accountability group. Walking through the museum as a veteran, how many veterans we got in this room? My hat's off to you. Thank you for your service. Our First Amendment, what's it stand for? It's our right to address our public bodies. And the one thing, and I don't know when this got adopted, but I will tell you, when you restrict the public's comments to 20 total minutes, chances are you probably don't have 5 people at a regular meeting. Whatever's going on, this is maybe an exception. Don't restrict the people's right to speak. We've got people that have fought for this country for that right, and when you restrict it to 20 minutes or 30 minutes or even an hour, I've been an elected official for over 10 years. I'm a fire chief. If I got a citizen that comes in, they can talk until that matter is going to be resolved. And I know you have business to do. Now let me get on to the business. For starters, your public comment policy, you have to provide an address. There's Attorney General opinions. They cannot ask for your address. That's a form of intimidation. So I would ask that you change that and rectify it and not require people to do that. Now I didn't put mine on there. You're still letting me speak. I appreciate it, but the fact that it's on there, there's people that are intimidated by that because they don't want to give up their address. The other issue on this conflict of interest, economic disclosure statements. I'm assuming everybody filled one out as an elected official. Amazingly, I would encourage, take a hard look at your law enforcement, take a hard look at your attorney. There's been an amended document on the conflict. There's still matters not disclosed, but on the amended, well, it's been amended, so it's okay. How many have ever got a speeding ticket? If you got a speeding ticket, then you slow down to stop. You slow down. That's no different. You can't amend something and say, okay, I didn't break the law. You can't unrob the bank. An economic disclosure statement is there for a reason. Mr. Thompson, is it Thompson or Thomas? Thomas. Mr. Thomas was not truthful on his economic disclosure statement. I would encourage you to take a look at our website and look up Tri-State Fire Protection District when the trustee failed to disclose properly. He's been indicted and is being charged in DuPage County. He's one of many. In the 6 years that we've been exposing public corruption, and that's what this is, we're at 264 public officials out of office. They either resign, get thrown out, or arrested, and in some cases convicted. And what's going on here, in our opinion, supported by case law from the Supreme Court, is criminal. And you're a party to it. And for those that are interested, we have law firms that are ready to take this action, to make this board follow the law. You cannot do business with one of your own members like that. And if your attorney is telling you you can, fire your attorney because he's dead wrong. And the case law supports it. And when you get an opinion from your attorney, if he's not citing case law and statutes, he's wrong. Because a good attorney will put it in writing and he'll give you the case law to support what's going on. And I'll be happy to give you the case law that said this is dead wrong what you're doing. And I want you to think about the hands that were raised in here. I spent a career in the Air Force. John spent a career in the Army. And I'll be darned if I'm going to tolerate public bodies that continue to crap all over people's rights. And that's what's going on here. And it's evident by the turnout of the people that are here. People have had enough of the corruption in this state. And this is a microcosm of what we have statewide. And I would ask that you be proactive and take steps to fix it and fix it right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, next card I have is Gene Roberts.
I just want to know why everything went on the ballots for the people to vote on if you want to do something like when you purchase something, it comes out of our pocket, our taxes. That's all I have.
Next card is from Marilyn Horth.
I just kind of, I wanted to see what was going on, and I kind of wanted to be able to speak if I wanted to say something. Right now, I don't, I'm listening.
And the last card that I have is from Amy Wertheim.
I just wanted to know, are the financial books available for the public to review since it's our taxpayers that are being used? And then the follow-up question to that is how often are audits done, and are the audit findings also available for the public to review?
I have no other cards. So I take it that's all the public comments. I appreciate your comments, your questions, and we will address those and try to get answers back to you as soon as possible.
As long as we have that, they'll have to come take them off and date on that.
When will the answer to the questions be answered and how?
We will send answers to the questions to the people that addressed them.
Well, this is a public meeting, why don't you make it public?
You can
They're
ask.
public questions, make the answers public.
They're always public.
That's not what he said.
We're gonna move
Actually, I
on.
would suggest you print them up and distribute them throughout town with the questions.
Public comments over. We're going to move on with our regular minutes according to the agenda. Each one of the board members should have a copy of the minutes from the July 13 meeting. Look at those, and finding no additions or corrections, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Steve Dryer, seconded by Jamie Clark. Karen, we want to do a roll call for acceptance.
They already voted to buy it?
Steve?
Yeah.
Laurie?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I'm a yay. Randy?
Yes. Minutes have been accepted as written. You should also have a copy of the treasurer's report in your packet.
If you're paying any bills, can we get a list of the bills that you're paying? In particular, if you're paying rent, can we get the dollar amount and who you're writing it to?
I would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I motion to accept it.
Chairman, point of order.
You know, we can't hear anything back here.
My point of order is in regards to the treasurer's report. Is this how you pay your bills?
No.
How we pay it?
How you approve the payment of the bills?
No.
So there no bills get approved here?
They're turned in.
So the board's approving them?
Yes.
Where on the agenda do we find that?
Says approval of treasurer's report.
That's why I'm asking, is the treasurer's report how you approve your bills?
No.
I would suggest that you pay close attention to Section 2E of the Open Meetings Act that requires a recital of the action you're taking with sufficient information to inform the public of the action that you're taking. Thank you.
Which is why I asked if you're paying rent and how much and who to.
Actually, you're required to read the bills.
Required to recite it with sufficient information under
And-
Section 2E.
and how
We've
much
got an
you're gonna
appellate
pay
court case
and-
that we won to prove that point.
And vote on each one separately and record the votes.
have a motion on the table to accept the treasurer's report as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Lori Cotton, second by Steve Dryer to accept the treasurer's report as written. Any discussion? Take a roll call.
You're not gonna tell us what you're voting on?
You're required by law to do so.
You just did.
No, you.
Treasurer's report is not what you're voting on.
Bills.
What is in the treasurer's report? Are you paying bills? Did checks go out this month that you're voting to approve payment of? Were invoices turned in that you're voting to approve payment on? That might be what's in the treasurer's report, and we need to know what it is.
I think I stated earlier, the public will have the opportunity to address us at the beginning of the meeting, and that would be the only time.
Are you aware that it's a Class C misdemeanor to violate the Open Meetings Act? It is a criminal act. Are you aware of that?
You're required to tell people what you're voting on. It's the law. It's not optional. Just because you've done it for 40 years that way doesn't mean it's optional.
The reason I ask if you're aware of that is there's a difference between knowing and not knowing, and now you know. If you continue and this is a violation, just be aware it is a Class C misdemeanor to violate the Open Meetings Act. And that is in the statute, and if you've done your training, you should be aware of that.
Take the roll.
People can ask for it anytime.
So you're not going to tell us what you're voting to pay. So you're willfully violating the Open Meetings Act. That's what you're telling us. By continuing on to vote, we'll see you in court. Thanks.
Lori? Karen, yes.
Hope you like spending money.
They're going to spend a bunch of it.
Next order of business is acceptance of district director's reports. Second. Motion by Lori, second by Steve, to accept the director's reports as written.
They got an elevator out here? Wow, yes they did.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Steve? Randy?
Yes.
Jamie? Karen? Yes.
Okay, you'll also find in your packets the committee reports. I would also entertain a motion to accept the committee reports as written.
Did they post the public hearing? I move to accept the committee reports.
Motion by Steve, second by Jamie to accept the committee reports as written. Discussions? Additions? Call the roll.
Steve?
Aye.
Randy?
Yes.
Lori? Jamie? Karen? Yes.
It's at this time that we will go into a closed session to discuss the purchase of the Union Hall building.
We'll be here when you get out.
And I will need a motion to do that.
I move that we now.
Section 2. Section 2.
Section 2, Section 2, paragraph 5.
Subsection C, I'm sorry. Section 2, subsection C, paragraph 5. Need a motion and a roll call.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Randy?
Motion's been made to go into executive session. Thank you for your attendance tonight. You're more than welcome to come back after we come back into session. If you want to go downstairs and go outside or wherever you want to go to wait, that's more than fine.
You gonna let us know before we open back up?
We
Yes,
will.
of course.
We know where you are.
We'll be right out front.
Okay.
I'm so glad. Well, I hope not.
So it's still wrong.
She went in next door.
No, I didn't.
Trying to muddy the waters.
Excuse me?
Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it. They don't say the public hearing is part of the same meeting.
Public hearing is the same meeting scheduled. Budget and appropriations are then we're just talking about budget and appropriations.
In the hearing, they're supposed to decide budget.
Do you have that set on that?
I have it drawn in. There's no rule there. That's the purpose of a hearing, is to provide
Okay, I have
feedback to the-
7:22. We've come back out of executive session for discussion on the purchase of the Union Hall building. We'll say for the record that no decision was made and we are just going to carry on with your business. Each
So-
one of you in your packet have a schedule of the budget appropriation ordinance, and a public hearing will be set for that.
No, that, just to let you know, the budget and appropriation ordinance is voted on at the September meeting, which is also the public hearing. That's been posted in the paper already, and the ordinance is available for viewing at the library.
So it's not a
This is
hearing.
just for your information, so you can see how much ahead.
So that's not tonight?
No,
No.
Okay.
You also have in your packet a report on review of the closed meetings, January through July.
oh, the report, there is actually not a written, the only report is that we had no closed meetings from January to July. We're required to review those every 6 months to see if we should make the proceedings public. We had no closed meetings, so this is just to make a record of that.
And then the final motion, or final thing on the agenda is the approval of committee responsibilities, and I do have the new committees and those that will be serving on those committees. Each one of you should have a copy of that also, and would accept a motion to accept those as functioning committees.
A motion to accept.
Okay, motion made by Lori, seconded by Jamie Clark to accept the assignment of committee responsibilities by each trustee. Discussion? Call the roll.
Let me see that.
Steve?
Point of order, can we figure out, can you tell us who's on the committee, what committees they are, and who's on each one, please?
I'll give you my copy when we get done.
That's supposed to happen before the vote.
I'm reading. Yeah. Go ahead. You want to read them out? Read them out.
Yeah. You want to read them, Karen?
Okay. Committee assignments. Planning, Randy Brooks, Bill Thomas. Staff support, Kathy and Rachel. Building facilities, Steve Dryer, Randy Brooks. Staff, well, Kathy and Rachel are the staff. Are the staff. Palms Grill Cafe, Randy Brooks, Bill Thomas. Funding and Finance, Steve Dryer, Bill Thomas. Technology, Lori Cotton. Insurance, Karen Horn. Programs and Services, Jamie Clark, Lori Cotton. Compliance, Karen Horn. Personnel, Karen Horn, Randy Brooks. Randy,
Yes.
Lori.
Yep.
Jamie,
Yes.
Karen, yes.
Have no other business on the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Jamie, second by Steve to adjourn at 7:25.
Steve,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Lori. Yep. Jamie,
Yes.
Karen, yes.
Is there a date set for the next meeting?
Second
Second
Thursday of
Thursday.
next month.
Thank you.
Meeting over?
And those are all posted on the website for the entire year.
I couldn't find the website.
But just so you know, a letter
I
from
think
an
it's on
attorney
the
cannot
comment
excuse
sheet for you.
violations of law. Your attorney's letter is wrong. Any of you that vote to continue paying that $1,000 a month or to purchase that building are assisting his violation of the law. I just want you to know that. No matter how much you pay that attorney, his letter is worthless when you stand up in front of the judge.